It's called Poseidon for a reason. It's a big character in the movie.
It's hard to build things upside down.
Of course, the most fun is when everything is smashed to pieces.
The sets were so authentic and can move and collapse. There's sort of a wild ballet to this movie.
The greatest thing about Hollywood is when they really go balls out. It's what you're in the movies for.
You feel that? Something's off.
The whole thing about the new Poseidon is to really take advantage of the drama of real sets.
Shooting on a real ship was a little bit more problematic than one might think because no one was that interested.
There probably isn't a cruise company in the world that would let us shoot our movie.
The whole ship turns upside down in this tidal wave, and everything is destroyed.
We were able to get people who would do it, but it was always on a smaller ship. And one of the things we wanted on this particular movie, wanted our ship to be, you know, the cutting edge, the biggest, the newest, the best. So to do that, we finally decided we would create the ship.
When Wolfgang asked us to go on this, I mean, we're intrigued just by the nature of the huge design challenge to find a new angle on what a cruise ship looks like.
The first Poseidon adventure basically used the Queen Mary as its boat, and they didn't really do anything to change it. Ours is relatively the size of that kind of ship. It's 1,100 feet long and about 16 decks high. So it's a big ship. We wanted to take it a couple steps further. We wanted to give it some, make it more sleek, a little more futuristic, make it not necessarily a boat from today, but maybe from 5 years from now.
We like to think it's amped up a little bit. It's a better looking ship, state-of-the-art ship. It's a ship that could never sink, but unfortunately, something happens to it.
One of the challenges of this movie that I don't think anyone really anticipated just how hard it was going to be is the fact that 3/4 of our sets are upside down.
In an upside-down world, you can imagine how disorienting it is.
And that presents a lot of logistical issues. Floors become ceilings, ceilings become floors.
This is intriguing to the director, but horrifying for the art department to try to bring it to life.
It's confusing. You know, you find yourself in conversations constantly where you're saying, well, they're going up, which by that I mean they're going towards the floor, which is now down.
All of a sudden you have staircases which are no longer functional, and you have stairs which have become slides. So it takes a little bit of time to wrap your head around that sort of situation.
I think it's going to be more clear when we remove just a few things here.
One thing I did learn is you've got to build a model. You've got to build an upside-down model and a right-side-up model.
It's a way for Wolfgang to look at the set and to sign off on the design before actually putting hammer to nail and spending millions of dollars.
Wolfgang wanted to live inside a controlled environment so that he could do whatever he wanted with that camera.
We eventually came up with a plan that we could shoot it all at the Warner's lot. And with 5 stages, you have a lot of flexibility from moving. You can be doing construction on one and shooting on another. We're shooting on 2 stages and doing construction on 3.
There's no substitute, really, for building a big, beautiful set with real flames and real water.
We have a total of about 53 sets. 1, 2, 3, go! The elevator shaft was kind of an interesting set because it's really only about 10 by 10, but it's 40 feet in the air. So if you can appreciate the director trying to have all these actors in this very confined space, it's pretty interesting. My favorite set on the show is actually the thruster room and the thruster port, which is behind us right now. And that's where our heroes escape the end of the movie. And it's kind of fun stuff, you know, because we're building huge motors, huge blades. We've made them turn.
The first set we shot in was the grand ballroom, and it's an amazing set.
It's so cool to work in a ballroom with hundreds of people and all the glamour of a great ballroom with an orchestra and people all so well dressed.
To me, this is a dream come true. Any art director would say that, but to design something like this, it's classic, big-time filmmaking. We're on the 2nd level here, and you get the whole sense of the grandeur of the ballroom. It hasn't been painted yet or finished, but you can imagine the beautiful tables and the waiters and beautiful people coming down the stairwells here.
The Grand Lobby is this epic set, to say the least. It is a 7-story grand lobby of a cruise ship, a massive cruise ship.
I would say that was 220 degrees of an ocean-going mall. I mean, we had 10 shops that were absolutely gorgeous, and some of the shops we used were actually real vendors, and it was pretty interesting.
The other major set in the film was the shot at the Staples Center, which of course is the big sports arena here in Los Angeles, which was our nightclub. And they have a beautiful nightclub. It has the curves and angles and lines, and Bill Sandell liked the color and the color scheme of the place. And so we went there to shoot the nightclub right side up. And then we took their nightclub and built it upside down here at Warner Brothers and, well, pretty much trashed it.
It made it a lot easier for us to find things that were already built. The galley, for instance, was the commissary at the Warner Brothers lot, real convenient. It allowed us to have more time, more freedom, and more money to do the upside down part.
Wolfgang's been waiting for this. 8 days of mayhem.
To go in one day and see the right side up set and go in the next day and see it completely upside down with everything matched perfectly, it's sort of mind-blowing.
Wolfgang wanted to have a real feel as if you were really there. You wouldn't want to kind of make this up as, okay, let's pretend that, let's do this, you know.
Eventually the stairs will be going up to the floor. There'll be pianos hanging from the ceiling, people hanging from the ceiling, all falling into this beautiful chandeliered area down here.
In the normal world, everything heavy sits on the floor. Only in our world, the floor is at the top.
Wow.
You are inside of the grand lobby of an upside-down cruise ship that is on fire. There are massive waterfalls cascading all around you.
One of the big things on the lobby is that all the railing that's supposed to protect you is on the ceiling. So when you build it and you look at it for the first time, you say, oh, I can see this is going to be a problem. How are we going to deal with this?
Everything basically has to be gutted just to make everything as lightweight as possible to hang from the ceiling.
Everybody who's there, all the actors have to be tethered off. Our crew has to work behind barricades. If they go outside of the barricades, we have to, tether them off so they can't work right next to the edge.
All of these windows that you see here will be blown out by our special effects department with water gushing in and sweeping people across the floor.
Obviously, it's Poseidon, so we're in the water from the very beginning, and then we're deeper in the water as we go along. So one set after the other needs to have some water element in it.
Water always complicates the sets because they have to be built so that you can repeatedly do the same type of work without coming apart, and they have to be extraordinarily strong because when you dump thousands of gallons of water on something, it has a tendency to break if you don't do it right.
I mean, that sounds silly, but that's a huge issue for an art department, how to do things that react to water correctly, how to work with sets that don't bob to the surface because they're not built correctly, paint and carpeting that doesn't react well underwater.
As the ship is hit by this rogue wave and is turning over, we can at any time cut into any of the different rooms on the ship and see what it's like as it's flipping over. The way we do that is we build small pieces of these sets. We put them on our tilting platform. We could create the idea that we are in this enormous set and we are seeing it flip over.
It's all real. It crashes around, and you can go very extreme with it.
When the wave hits and our set begins to roll and then become an upside-down set, all of that furniture, the tables, the chairs, lamps, anything that's going to be flying through screen with our stunt people, those will become action props.
You have stuff flying over, you have to make all these breakaways, make sure that our actors, our stunt people don't get hurt.
You're inside these situations where it is actually collapsing around you and the walls literally are imploding.
When that happens, you got to be aware of what's around you, where people are going to fall, what's going to fall on you.
For the ballroom, I've ordered, $80,000 worth of crystal and china breakaways. I'm spending $50,000 on breakaway tables and chairs.
That'll be the fun part about it, is ruining all the stuff that I have made out here for months and just tossing it in a big pile in the grand ballroom.
It's kind of sad to see it all trashed like this, but I guess that's the nature of the beast, right?
It's Poseidon, the most beautiful ship you can imagine in the beginning, and it turns into a real bad monster.